No, like, I literally brought my palette into the nail salon and tried to get my nails to match the palette. Well, hello there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is zzionaesthetic, and today we get to talk about something incredibly exciting. It is the brand new Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. This just got released online on Anastasia Beverly Hills website. So, if you are interested in seeing how this performs and how I like it, as well as see whether it might be a good bang for your buck and whether it's something that you would be interested in picking up, then let's dig in. I'm a little worried, to be honest, because some of the reviews that I saw were saying that this was nothing like the Modern Renaissance palette, that they had a different formula, that it was so powdery, and that they weren't able to really blend it out well because of that. And also, Alyssa Ashley here on YouTube did a whole review where she tried out this palette, and there was so much powder, like dustiness, coming off of this shade right here, Roxy, that she literally hit pan just by swiping in it a little bit. So I'm a little worried about that, but we're obviously going to get into that. I have not put anything on my eye yet. All I've done is my brows. Also using Anastasia Beverly Hills products, actually. I used the Dip Brow Pomade and then a little bit of the Brow Wiz just to, you know, finish shaping things up. But first, I'm going to prime my eyes with the Too Faced 24-Hour Shadow Insurance. I haven't seen anyone use this primer yet with this palette, so I am hoping that it works out well. First, I'm going to put a base over that eyeshadow primer of just a translucent powder, because this being as powdery of a formula as it is, I just want to start with a powder base. The Modern Renaissance palette, which is supposed to be the sister of this palette right here, is probably my most used palette ever. I love the formula, I love the tones, I love absolutely everything in it, which was why I was like so drop dead excited when this palette came out. I just really hope that it has the same quality in it that the Modern Renaissance does. It does retail for the same price at $42, so I don't know, I guess wish me luck and wish all of us luck, because if this doesn't work, then it doesn't work, and then it's not worth your money, and that's just a really sad time. Okay, so first off, let's see. I'm going to take something very light, very easy, very fun. I'm going to start off with Dawn right up here. It's just a very light sort of beigey neutral color, and as you can see, just in the 2 seconds that I dipped it, it is insanely powdery, but a ton comes off on the brush. So you just have to be aware of that. Wow, there's a lot of dust. Okay, so I'm just going to start by working this into my crease a little bit. So I'm just bringing this up towards the brow bone. Not all the way up to the brow bone, but pretty damn close. And I do want to mention, every time that I dip into this, I'm dipping in very lightly, and there's still powder that's just going off the edge, that's falling down. It's definitely a different, much more powdery product than the Modern Renaissance was, which already was a very powdery eyeshadow formula, so what you doing, ABH? What you doing? So far, this shade right here, Dawn, albeit being extremely powdery and having a ton of kickback and a bit of fallout, is blending very, very well into the eye. I'm not seeing any issues with patchiness. I'm not seeing any issues where I'm getting any edges. It does seem to be blending out very solidly, but it is just a beige transition color, so I mean you can't rely too much on what that is showing you. It's going to start getting more exciting when we get into the yellows and when we get into Roxy, and then we'll really see what this palette is all about. Okay, I think we have built that color up just enough just to give us sort of that crease definition. And like I said, it definitely seemed to work out fine for me. I'm not, you know, having any issues with it, other than the fact that I've used like a fifth of it. Okay, so next, what should we do? I'm not going to play around with the blues or the greens today. I'll probably do that in my next tutorial using this palette. So for me, I think I am actually going to jump into New Wave here, this slightly orange shade, and I'm going to layer that just on top of the shade that I just put down and a little bit lower. So I'm actually not really having issues with this color. I was almost certain, just with the reviews that I had seen, that I would have a ton of issues. I am seeing that as I blend it out, it is kind of darkening up, but I mean, it's still blending fine. I'm not getting any edges or any patchiness or anything like that at all, really. So far I'm very content. I mean, my palette already looks very, very messy. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Just around the shadows that I've been using, even though I've been blowing it off every couple seconds, it's still just, there's so much kickback. Definitely more kickback than I've ever seen in an eyeshadow ever in my life. But it is blending out very, very nicely, and that's something that I'm very excited about. I am going to hop into a slightly smaller brush, and I'm going to pick up that shade Roxy right here, and I'm going to start working that, probably focused more on the outer corner, just to see if I can't give it a little bit of a beautiful pinky tone. So can you guys see this? That, oh, it's falling, but that is after me just dipping in a couple times. Holy crap. It is so powdery. And I've already left a little bit of a dent in there. So this shade very specifically, oh, it's beautiful though. But this shade very specifically, I would say just tap as light as humanly possible. Because any more than that and you're wasting product. It's going everywhere. I mean, you're still probably wasting product either way with that much coming off, but with it being such a pretty shade, you don't want to lose it all at once. So just try to barely touch it. I'm literally just trying to pick up the powder that's kicked around the rest of the palette right now. This palette is such a roller coaster. It's like so amazing and beautiful, but then like also kind of terrible because of how powdery it is. I think a lot of this palette comes down to preference, because you can make it work, you can make it blend together. It's just very different than pretty much any other eyeshadow I've ever used, and you really have to work at it in a very different way. And so I think that the thing that I've been seeing is that some people have been loving it and some people have been really not liking it. And I think it just all comes down to what kind of shadows you're used to, how you're used to doing your eyeshadow, and whether you can, you know, adjust, I guess, to a very, very, very insanely powdery shadow, which I think I can. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying here. So next, what do we do next? What should we do next? Okay, let's take the color that I was literally the most excited for in this palette out of all of them. This shade right up here, All Star. This beautiful, like, slightly purpley, mauvey, pinkish raspberry tone, I guess. That was like 16 different colors all mashed into one. But for that shade, I'm going to actually hop onto the brush that comes with the palette, which actually is a very stiff, fluffy brush, so I'm worried that this will kick back even more. But I'm just going to take a little bit of that All-Star and start to really define this outer corner. Okay, now I'm finally starting to see some of the issues. As you can see, I hope you can see, this, it's kind of balling up in certain areas and it's lighter in other areas. It's not giving me an even coating of pigment. As I blend it out, it kind of doesn't want to stay in certain places. I'm gonna switch over to the packing brush and see if I can just press it into those areas. That seemed to work a little bit. But then as soon as I do that, it just stops again. What the fuck? No, no, this eye look was so pretty. What's happening? All-Star, you were supposed to literally be my 90s hit song. What is happening? Okay, on the other side, I'm just simply going to try to pack that color on, see if I can avoid having as much of a disaster. So it does seem to be working fine on this eye, but like, it looks terrible on this eye. Oh, man. Yeah, see, on this eye, it blended out fine. And on this eye, it literally hates me. Maybe it was me. I mean, it's not perfect. This eye, very specifically, is not perfect. But that's okay. I think it's good enough. It passes my does it absolutely suck test. So, now I want to go into another shade. I think I'm about ready to put some shimmer on my lid. This looks like a lot of beautiful colors. It's very like sunsetty. What if we took like this yellow? Would that be too intense? Should we do Adorn? I'm gonna start with Adorn, this beautiful shimmer shade right here, and I'm gonna pack that all over the lid. I'm excited to see how the shimmer shades perform as opposed to the matte shades. So these ones I'm having kind of the opposite problem. Instead of kick up, they're actually kind of getting that, what is it called? False pan or whatever, where it kind of gets that hard layer and it's a lot harder to pick up the shadows. Weird. These are like the opposite of the mattes. They're like not as pigmented as they could be and also not powdery at all. There we go. There's a little bit of pigment now. Gotta dig in there for these and then try your hardest to use a light brush on the mattes. I'm trying my hardest to like this though. Honestly, I do like this. Like I like it a lot more than a lot of the reviews that I saw, but it's just a bummer because I went into this hoping for absolute perfection like the Modern Renaissance was, and then saw some of the videos and sort of got my hopes down a little bit, and then got mine, and at first it was performing awesome, and I was like, okay, they must have had different palettes. But now I'm sort of falling into the same issues that some of the other reviews I've seen have had. But to be honest, I still think it's a really gorgeous eye look. It just took a little bit of finessing, you know? I'm literally digging into this shadow. I have my brush just pressed down in the pan, and I'm just digging into it, and I've had to do that like 6 times for each eye. Maybe these are the type of shimmer shadows that you just have to have a wet brush to use, but I have definitely never found that to be the case with any of Anastasia's shadows before. Her shimmer shadows have always been super uber pigmented and easy, and you definitely haven't had to dig for them. Okay, real quick, I am just going to finish up the eyes off camera, just put some liner on, put some lashes on, get everything looking all snatched, probably finish this face, and then we'll come right back and work on the eyeshadow on the lower lash line and talk about how this palette really performed for me. And there we go, I have finished off the rest of my face. Just something very sort of pretty and light. I didn't go too ham on anything. I just wanted to mainly leave the focus on the eyes. So now we're gonna hop back into the Subculture palette and figure out what we are going to do for our lower lash line. I think what I am going to do is I am going to mix Fudge right here and All Star together with mostly Fudge and just run that along the lower lash line and see how that ends up looking. So Fudge seemed to work really phenomenally on the lower lash line, but then once I hopped back into All Star, which is actually the shade that was giving me trouble on my upper lid, it did start to kind of just, I don't know, it's not exactly patchiness, it just seems to really focus the pigment in certain places. So like, even though I'm just going back and forth trying to blend it out, it just stays in some places and looks like it's being really blended out in other places. So it's like lighter and darker and kind of just looks a little bit splotchy. But Fudge I definitely did not have that issue with, and I did manage to make it work once I really kept blending it out. So I think that that looks really good, honestly, given the situation. So I am going to put on some lower lash mascara. I'm going to use the L'Oreal Lash Paradise. This is my new most favorite mascara ever. It's kind of absolute perfection. So for the lips today, I used Ofra's liquid lipstick in Pasadena and then lightened it up around the center of the lip using Anastasia Beverly Hills Pure Hollywood, which I actually haven't used in forever because it's a little bit too light for my lips by itself, but it works really well as sort of like a lip contour or a lip highlight. So now I'm going to spritz a little bit more setting spray on. Now for the good part, we are going to talk about how I feel about the Subculture palette and whether I think that it is a good palette for you guys to buy. I'm actually kind of on the fence about this one. For part of the review, I was like, yes, this is amazing. Modern Renaissance #2, come at me. And then as I sort of started blending and just thinking about some of the reviews that I had seen, I was like, well, is this really worth the money? Like, are these shades really worth the powdery sort of consistency that they have? Are they good enough colors, and are they, you know, is it good enough? And so I'm kind of on the fence. I would say if you are very, very, very interested in these colors, then yes, go pick it up. But keep in mind that you may have to work with them a little bit to get it to be exactly what you want it to be. If these colors aren't something that's that exciting for you, and you're more into slightly warmer tones, definitely the Modern Renaissance is all you need. You don't even need to worry about this. I think if you have the Modern Renaissance and you're not interested in these colors specifically, I think you're fine. I don't think you need to pick this up. But if it were me, if this was a sample palette and I had just tried this and it wasn't mine to keep, I would definitely go pick this up just for myself, even though I did have a lot of trouble, even though there's so much powder in the mattes that it kicks up everywhere, you get fallout, and the shimmers have the exact opposite problem where you have to really dig into them. Like, can you see Adoran right there? That's what I had to do just to get a little wash of it on my lid. I had to really plow into that thing. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I could say about this palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this review slash tutorial, and I hope you enjoyed the look that I came up with these shadows. I wanted to try out an array of the shadows, but I also wanted to do something that was slightly in my comfort zone because I had seen people having some issues, and so I wanted to do something that I knew that I could do quite easily and see how all of the shadows performed on the eyes and see, you know, whether they worked. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you guys enjoyed me, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I do post new videos every single week, so if you would like to see this face again, make sure to do that. Other than that, I will link my other social media accounts down below in the description bar if you guys are interested in seeing me elsewhere. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world, and I hope to catch you on the next video. Bye!